Welcome to a Harsh Reality broadcast on the 20th of October 2014. The title of this presentation is called We Need to Adjust to a New Economic Reality. I have a caption here, and this is Steve with his rose-tinted glasses on, and he thinks everything is rosy in the garden because the mainstream media are telling him so. He's hearing news about the recovery. But the truth of the matter is there is no real recovery, and there won't be a real recovery within Western economies until such time we actually start to balance the books and start running a surplus. And that seems an impossible task at this stage. The stark reality is this: we either continue with quantitative easing or we face reality now. Seriously, that is it. I cannot state it any plainer than that. Now then, which direction do you think our governments will take us? Will they kick the can down the road and therefore reintroduce quantitative easing, or will they finally throw in the towel and accept a deflationary spiral? And that is simply the choices that are now facing us. We've gone far too down the road to have any other choices. Whatever choice we take will be a very difficult one. If you were a career politician, what would you be tempted to do? Yes, go for the easy option and continue with quantitative easing and just hope that the catastrophic collapse happens on someone else's watch. If you were a politician with integrity, you would tell the public the truth about the state of the public finances. But is that a vote winner? Ron Paul comes to mind. He was trying to find out the truth. He was trying to get the Federal Reserve Bank audited to find out if we really had those gold reserves. I often hear people say we are going to enter a deflationary spiral. Well, yes, that is what should happen, provided there is no intervention by governments. However, an inflationary spiral is likely because governments do not wish to face reality now. Now then, in my last video presentation, I said expect wobbles in markets as Fed ends QE. And over the last week, there have been massive swings. Only today, there's been a 4% increase in the Asian markets. If anybody wants to have a look at that, on the 20th of October today, that is what's happened. But likewise, there's been massive downward swings as well. The question is, will the Fed end QE? My guess is that they won't, as they will state it is data dependent. They will say something like, inflation is too low. Really? Is it really too low? I don't think so, and I'll try and explain why. The real inflation is not low, and this is evident when you look at people's standard of living. I've known loads of people that haven't had pay rises for about 5 years or so, whilst general goods and services are going up. Inflation is actually measured in 3 ways, and let's talk about substitution. Let's say, look at a simple example. You used to go to a restaurant, a nice fancy restaurant, maybe once a week and have a meal. But as food prices rise, you find that you can't go to the same restaurant, so you start going to a cheaper one. Well, the guys that collect the data will say, well, you're still spending the same money, so really there's no inflation. Whereas if you were to go to the same restaurant, there would be a significant inflation. So that's substitution. Waiting, well, if something becomes too expensive, it's given a different weighting, so it doesn't seem as high, the inflation rate. Hedonics. Let's say, for example, you bought a television and then you buy a television the following year and it's the same price. What they will state is that that television has actually improved functions. So when they look at inflation, they'll actually say that television has dropped in price. So you can see how it is manipulated when they look at inflation. Reality will hit sooner or later. If it is sooner, the depression will be dreadful. If it is later, it will be catastrophic. I prefer a dreadful depression now and accept that we are going to be poorer and slowly build up to a sustainable financial model that is linked to a gold standard. Don't get me wrong, the gold standard is not perfect. You will still get boom and busts, but they will be more manageable, as the gold standard instills financial discipline. Well, there you go. This is quite a short presentation just to explain that no matter what course we take, a depression is baked into the cake. I'm quite sad that politicians haven't been honest with us, but it is not a vote winner, so why bother? A lot are career politicians, and when you look at the different politicians, the parties, there's no difference between, for example, the Conservatives and Labour. There's no real democracy. That's why I hope that UKIP in the UK actually start to make a stand. I agree that it's too early for them to take on government, but the major parties do need a shake-up. It's been too cosy for them for too many years. So I think that the markets will continue to wobble. I think they are waiting for some news about quantitative easing. I personally think we are going to get some news soon stating that they're going to continue with it in the UK, and I have no doubt that quantitative easing will be introduced into the European central banks. They can't stop it. They don't want to stop it, because if they did, a depression would happen now. But anybody thinks that quantitative easing is going to save us are deluded. It won't. All it is doing is storing up worse problems down the road. Thank you for listening, and I'll get another presentation out shortly.